Sky is the limit. Sky is the limit. Sky is the limit. Sky is the limit. Let's go.
Gentlemen from behind the Between Sundays curtain. You can see my glasses peeking through, but I'm going to switch the camera to somebody else. As we lower the music and we turn up the voice, we bring you two of the greatest musicians on this side of Jordan. Why do we say Jordan? This side of Earth, this side of town. Shay Mars, Angel's husband, and Darian Brister, Enon's husband. That's all you need to know. Holla.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Between Sundays, episode 35.
Yeah.
Again, we're a platform where we offer perspectives of the modern church and ministry operation and many nuances therein from the lens of worship arts and multimedia personnel. We are coming to the conclusion of our current series, Relationships in Ministry. Mm-hmm. And so tonight, we grabbed a comment. And I saw this real time because I was waiting for someone to say this comment in this series. I didn't want to be the one to say the comment. I was waiting for someone to say it. And when it showed up last week, it was like a halo came on my head. Hallelujah. Because I was waiting. So we are going to start with this comment that came in last week during our discussion, which was interestingly enough from Mrs. Morris. Mm-hmm. So the comment says, church turnover is insane because of lack of relationship. Let me read that again. Church turnover is insane because of lack of relationship. I asked Pels to start with this one. Let me just clarify, just for anyone who may not understand the terminology. When we say turnover being members and let's say, leadership individuals, you know, almost look like they're moving church to church.
Yeah.
And sometimes we look at it and we label it as church hopping. In some cases, that is the truth. In many cases, there's something else at play. Pels, you got the floor.
Wait, I'm trying to figure out where to get in on this at. You got set me up better than that. What am I missing here?
Got
Help
you.
me.
So I guess let me pose this question to you. Pose this question to you. Putting aside those who church hop, and we know there are notorious church hoppers,
Right.
but putting aside those who church hop, and I guess looking at, you know, individuals with a skill set, you know, in the worship and arts field of our, you know, churches, what do you think are some common reasons or triggers of this high church turnover?
All right. So when we say church turn, sorry, people. Ladies and gentlemen, rewind. I don't know why that was muted, but anyway. Church turnover is insane because of lack of relationship. Thank you. Whoever put in the comment, whoever said that about the sound, like say it, go ahead, say it. Dave, Steve, thank you so much. No sound. Robert, thank you. No sound. Pinckney, appreciate you, brother. He's not an Eagles fan, but anyway, we love him. He's my brother. He is my brother. We love him. And shout outs to his whole church that are mostly Eagles fans. Amen. And they uphold their pastor. Amen. But all right, so to the point. Got some music playing, no sound, got it. Okay, thanks, Nick Hill. All right, so let's answer this question. I used the analogies of, if you didn't hear it, the mic wasn't on. I said it's another time and a topic for the Embiids of the church, but I use sports analogies a lot. And when we talk about church turnover being the same because of lack of relationship, and shout out to my brother Robert Pinckney, who's on here as well. We go way back. We are relational people, right? You can have your problem with us as pastors. You can be like, oh, you don't do it this one. The one thing you'll know about him and his house, him and his wife, me and my wife, we are relational. Being relational, if it don't work, it don't work, but we don't have beef. We don't have the turnovers of the in and out because we don't cycle through people that if they cycle through, they're either going to change or we're going to emphasize that they're full of boop, right? And I'm not going to be lying to people, and you have to remember, folk will call folk for reference.
Yes, they will.
When they call reference wise, we'll keep it anonymous what it's all about. But you know, my relationship with Jay, I was able to vouch and be like, yeah, he didn't need it, but I'm like, yo, that's my dude. Like, great, reliable guy, blah, blah, blah. The situation don't work out, but his character speaks for itself, and I can testify to it. Now, that insaneness, the lack of relationship, I totally agree with Angel with lack of relationship. As I'm adding to toxic relationships, right? Because toxicity recognizes toxicity, right? So a lot of turnover is toxic jumping to toxic,
Right.
round and round. And this is when you'll see people that you've seen in one place, you look up, they somewhere else. Then you look up, they somewhere else. Then you look up, they somewhere else. And then they somewhere else. And then they somewhere else. And it keeps doing this turnover, and nothing is stable. When nothing is stable, it starts to emphasize that something's wrong with the relationship. Because somewhere along the way, nobody's telling the truth. Right? So let me flip this so we don't point the bad finger at musicians that you might see Darian playing here and then playing there, Jay playing here, me playing here, playing there, and whatever. Here's the difference though. Let's look at those people who are full of integrity. And their movement is not because they're toxic, it's because they were in toxic places that they can't sustain being in. So you may have a musician that's like, I thought you was playing over here, now you over here, but then you over there. That's because they discovered the toxicity in places, and that's why they moved. Then on the flip side, churches will have the reputation that they have that are very great, and they're cycling through people, and they're cycling because the person coming in is toxic. So now the turnover, to Angel's point again, it is the lack of relationship and the quality of the relationship. Right? Because if a place don't work for me, I should still have a good relationship, and we both can say that just wasn't a good fit.
Right.
And we can say, so if somebody say, well, why you don't have so-and-so playing no more? He needed to be doing something else, and we weren't the place for him or her. It's not man, that Negro's. So that's all I got on the surface right now. Y'all have to dig a little bit more, and we are going to acknowledge these comments. If pastors can move around, why can't musicians? That's a whole nother loaded thing, bro. I'm glad I haven't really seen pastors moving around, but is that a thing now?
That's crazy if it is.
If that's a thing, DT, that's bad. Pastors moving around is bad because it's a lot of churches that are vacant, and they have vacancies, and they're coming. Some of them don't know that they need to be vacant in the pulpit. But that's going to be a real bad thing if you got preachers hopping, because then that goes to this statement that the lack of relationship, because now that basically says I'm not even comfortable leading these folk. Right? So Darian, y'all, Jay, jump in there.
Jay, I'm coming your way. Let me just throw some wood on the fire real quick, because I'm gonna focus a lot on the lack of relationship. What comes to mind for me is, okay, what do we see as the fruit, or what breeds lack of relationship in that sense? You know, what is it that kind of we see on the other end of lack of relationships? Well, the first thing, and I'm coming right to you, Jay. The first thing I see is where there's a lack of relationship in the ministry context, then it has to suggest that people are looked at only as commodities. If there's no desire to build relationship, well, something's going to transpire.
Right.
So where there's no desire to build relationship, then what the desire is by default is getting out of you what benefits me. All yours, Jay.
Yeah. So real quick, I'm gonna speak about the pastors moving. So you have different churches. I'll speak on the Seventh-day Adventist. I played for them for over 20 years. Love them dearly. My only issue was because I played for them for 20 years, I've been under almost, 3 pastors under them. So there are pastors that do move quite often. 5 years is hardly enough to really establish what you're trying to do. Matter of fact, I would even go to say that 5 years is possibly when you really start digging your heels into any ministry as a pastor. And so it was the hardest getting to know a pastor, going back and forth for a few years until y'all get to know each other's sweet spot.
Yeah.
And then they have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have another pastor coming in with a totally different set of rules, totally different set of idealistic tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
He has a whole nother way, he or she has a whole nother way of doing things. And now they don't believe that you should be getting paid what you should be getting paid. Or that you should be over what you're over. The last pastor that trusted you, this pastor don't know nothing about music. So he think the keyboard costs too much. So we need to get rid of it and get something else that's a little cheaper. So you get different situations like that. And that was one of the hardest things. So I would, and going back to what we were discussing at the beginning, I would even go to say, as my brother said, motive plays a huge factor on both parts. There are some people in church, and I'm not going to say pastors because it's more than that now. There are some people in ministries that do not desire to have a relationship. There are some musicians. You pay, I play. They take that mentality. So their motive is not to have a relationship with the church. And because their motive is not to have a relationship with the church, now that you've got the motive out the way, as my brother said, Pelzer, something is going to transpire. No, I'm sorry, D said that. Something is going to transpire out of that. And guess what? It's going to be chaos. Why is it going to be chaos? Simple. Because now you're just in there for the check.
Bro, you know what? And so y'all can jump right into this, but here's we can cut right to the chase. I think that we're getting to a place and a point that we have to acknowledge what's the driving part of church, the institutionalization piece of it, right? And whether we like it or not, we have to face the reality that it is gone. Okay, this thing that I'm about to say, it's as plain as offering. The church that says it's giving time and you got 18 plates and they're expecting you to put green dollar bills in it, and you're expecting the trustees to go into the office under supervision, integrity, and we're going to sit there and count after church and have that little green bag with the lock on it and put it in the deposit box. We know we tripping at that point. Right. We stuck in the past. So fast forward, shout out to Jalil, and I'm gonna tell you this, Jalil Coleman. I haven't watched anything, but he really went into a grassroots. Let's just start with the Bible again. Come as you are, and we're gonna have Bible study in this condo.
Yeah.
He's doing that now. Like I said, I'm not even gonna test theologically sound, whatever. I know that he got a gathering real quick, right? And that's all they do. This ain't built on the band playing. He in Atlanta, Lil Jon on the drums. They got so-and-so. It ain't nothing to do that. These people got real Bibles or phones. They pray. It ain't a whole bunch of oil and tarrying at the altar and stuff and everybody speaking in tongues stuff. They having simple Bible study, taking little selfies and stuff, spreading the word, and that thing is growing.
Yeah.
Now catch this here. He may never transition into, we gotta have a band and we got so-and-so doing worship leading and stuff. That right there can start something that takes everybody out of the equation, where you can't even depend on playing, doing sound, nothing.
Yeah.
Because we don't need you to. Because this is a gathering. Now, fast forward to this. For the church buildings that we have, that we intend to keep up, that we have leadership, pastors and stuff, pastors are going to have to start coming to the table and saying, hey, respect me as the leader, but this is a team. So you ain't Nick Sirianni running the ball and doing tush push by yourself. It's called a team. You have defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. You have somebody sitting high, somebody sitting low, somebody over there. You have reviewers and stuff, and all of that makes up the team. And you got to recognize, and each person matters. So now when it comes to musicians, and it comes to worship leaders, we can cry and complain and complain about the attitudes, the this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, we got to figure this out. Because I looked over somebody's contract today for a church because they have to have a worship leader. And we went through what you need to clarify on there. You need to clarify, do you need them at the funerals? Do you need them here? Is this separate? Is this included?
Yeah.
You know, don't hire them and then say, oh, where was you at for this, that, and the third? You got to make it plain and clear. And then you can't lowball them, because the honest to God truth is, in order for you, Reverend, to get your salary, you got to have people that feel comfortable and feel like they're getting value out of getting up on Sunday morning and sitting in that pew chair for an hour, 2 hours. What's my return on that investment? Y'all can shoot me on it. Y'all can say whatever you want. But honestly, this is not my thought pattern from the jump, but that's where we at now.
Yeah.
So you cannot advertise, number one, what you can't deliver. And if you have nothing to offer, you have to argue that people can't just stay at home and get it done. And miss me with the forsake not the assembly of the saints. People are assembling in their living rooms again.
Now, here's another thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So if you are a leader that's like, yo, I want to feel the move of God in the room, and you want to set atmosphere, and you want to do it with some kind of excellency, you better recognize the value of the musician that you asking to do it, the singers that you need to do it.
Yeah.
And the fact that the pew has gotten lazy and they may never go back to being a church choir in the pews. And if that's not the case, then you got to figure out how to navigate, because people are not just going to give up their time to sing till they fall, play and do everything that you want, and you take all the money and run.
Now, here's the thing, Pell.
Go, Jay. Got it. Take it.
Like you said, man, go on to the days where, when we were growing up, the people that were in the church, they've been there for years. Some of them when the church started.
Yeah.
You very rarely see pastors now, I call them grassroots, start a ministry and then stay there 40 and 50 years, still preaching. And the people that's there still stay there. Back when we were growing up, the folks that was there, they're grassroots people.
Yeah.
Whether the pastor was right or wrong, they stayed in that ministry. There was no going here or going there. We knew when we went to another church and the pastor had to preach, we were looking for certain people that we knew were there.
Yep.
Through thick and thin. Church went through broke. They were there. Church went through a little bit of money. They were there.
Yeah.
Church went through scandal. They were still there.
Yeah.
There was no real turnover.
Right.
It was a situation where they were faithful until they died in that ministry. And they had the funeral, and then mother such and such took over because she'd been in the ministry for 68 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's now, you don't find that kind of grassroots type of laity in the church. It's not there. We've come to more of an offense. The spirit of offense runs heavy. So because we have the spirit of offense, if you say anything that gets underneath my spirit or gets underneath my skin and what I'm trying to do, now it's not heaven or hell, it's prosperity. It's tell your neighbor that you I can do this by myself if I need to. You go on and stop being jealous of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's just like we have this mentality now where it's just like, oh, forget y'all. I'm gonna do this. Tell your neighbor that God got me. No. Here's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up in the I need you. You need me.
Yeah.
Mother Turner is bringing over some sugar
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have none. Mother Turner needs sugar. I'm bringing over sugar. I'm bringing over a cake to church.
Yeah.
We don't have dinners at churches no more. I didn't say fish fries. We don't have dinners.
Mm-hmm.
When you would go to another church and they would all serve you dinner, and
Yeah.
you would sit down at the table, musicians included,
Mm-hmm.
and they would serve you
Yeah.
before service. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like all those things we grew up on that made the church the church.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew that these people that have been there, they're not new members. You already knew this. You never even had to ask them how long they've been there. You knew if they were in that kitchen, they have been here for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Pels, if you can put our topic back on the screen one more time.
Yes, sir.
And Vicky Caldwell Fordham, I totally agree with your comment.
for sure.
Um,
Too deep, too.
The reason why I was waiting for this comment, because again, the notorious church hoppers aside, the end of the comment is what I believe what birthed the beginning of this comment. The lack of relationship is what birthed the turnover.
Mm-hmm.
And let me say something that's going to sting a little bit, okay? To your point, Jay, we seem to have gotten further away from follow me as I follow Christ and closer to follow what I tell you to do.
Right. That's right. Exactly.
That's what seems to have transitioned to. When we discuss and ponder on, let's say the type of laity or congregant that, they've been at their church or church ministry for a long time. I would venture to say that in most cases there is a feeling of connection and a feeling of family. There's a genuine feeling of connection. But if most of what we're seeing is follow what I tell you to do, follow what I tell you to do because I authorize your offering or what you're compensated. If it's so much more of that explains the lack of relationship. That there's no relationship between an employer and an employee. That's not a relationship, not along the lines that we're talking about. That's a dynamic here. It's not a relationship between an employer and employee. And the more that is prevalent, particularly when we're talking about our music department and that connection, music pit to pulpit, the more that employee-employer is present, then that pushes down the relationship and connection. It pushes that down. So now, because that's now so prevalent, employee-employer, what is it that is reciprocated for me to stay connected?
Right.
Because who I am thinking of connecting myself to is not connecting themselves to me.
Exactly.
They're just not. And I know someone is coming with the, well, we don't go to church and we don't serve in our church. because of the pastor or because of the leadership. That is not our purpose. I 1000% agree that is not our purpose.
Right.
That no, it is the Lord. It is our relationship with the Lord. I 1000% agree with that person that's going to say that. 1000% agree. However, we are not absent of wisdom. We're not absent of wisdom, and there's no biblical foundation for marrying toxicity.
Wow.
That's good.
There's no biblical foundation for that.
Yeah.
We use this, and I'm coming your way, Pels. We use this cliche, which does have biblical foundation, but we use this cliche: the pastor is the angel of the house, the one that looks over the souls of those in that particular branch, that particular congregation. So why do I bring that up? Because that has to have some importance.
Of course.
I'm sorry, I cannot subscribe to, okay, you go to that church just because the Lord told you to, and you completely ignore the angel that's looking over your soul. As an example, not an attack on pastors. As an example, I don't think you can totally ignore the lack of family presence and family dynamic. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. I'm not saying that that's biblically founded. My opinion is you can't completely ignore that.
Yeah.
For the person that says, you don't serve your church just because of who's in leadership. No, not just because, but I do think it plays a role. I do. Any thoughts on that, Pels?
No, listen, you hit it on the money where it's like, when you think about the roles that this stuff plays, I just want to back to the fact that the relationship actually matters now, and we're going to be forced to see it, right? Because the one thing I remember, and Pastor, and I think you made mention of it, Darren. So there's a few churches. Okay, said pastor in Atlanta said a very controversial statement that people were really concerned about. I'm not going to jump in and say I agree with that pastor, and I understand people's gripe with it and people that didn't have a gripe with it. But what they were going into, and there are local pastors that the church does not need to survive off of the plate on Sundays. I've been in positions where it was all about the plate on Sunday. So you pick a musician, this, that, and the third, fixing problems was all about what's on the plate. And me being a generational pastor and other ones that can relate to this, where it's like being the under shepherd of the house and sharing for the house. You take it upon yourself to take the hit if anybody want to take it. You make sure the musicians get paid, the people get paid, the janitor, whoever, and you take the hit. You suffer that enough, and you like, look, I got to be a businessman, so I ain't relying on preaching and getting the check. Then you have some institutions that are set up where that's the way they're set up. You going to drive your dope whip.
Yeah.
You going to eat and live the way you want. You going to get your Gucci, Louis Vuitton, this, that, and the third. And we going to say we got issues with the money. And what that basically means is you got to give up that one car. Right? And the bartering is now pushing it on. We don't need no music. Okay. Yeah, all right. Because everybody you watching on the internet, they got music, right? Everybody you watch on the internet, they got a sound man. Everybody you watch on the internet, they got cameramen and women. Did you hear what I'm saying? They got PR and promotion, right? So you trying to play that game, and you can't play that because your structure ain't set up that way because you teetering and tottering between it actually has turned into a business, and that's why I shouted out my cousin and brother in ministry on some. Like I said, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing. I don't know because I haven't really checked it, but we are getting to that model of what church out West Philly was doing way back in the day when they had the cells, right?
Okay.
And they would go to houses, and the church structure was, building pockets of people, and we gather to worship all together. But when we leave out, let's establish and create community, because even way back then, the church wasn't just in the community. And now with the internet and stuff, look at the people. I'm a member of Potter's House. You live in Philly. So you can't call yourself a community church. Or you can, because community is you go to the coffee shop. You talk to these people with health issues and this, that, and the third. They need encouragement, and you throw faith. So it is using, in the words of Pastor James Moore, all of our circles of influence as the believers that we are. Now, back to the choice of when people say, I need a church home. Well, you got to take care of that church home. The problem is, there are people that want to take care of the church home, but the management, the coaches, the pastor is just not understanding the team. Right? And again, churches have become like sports teams. Right? So you do have to forecast and you have to shepherd it and know who can work with who, and you just can't pray the Holy Ghost and expect it all to just mend in. You have to strategize at this point. Now, if you're fortunate enough that the church just got the budget, you can call this or that in. Here's another piece. It doesn't mean it's actually working. Right? You just got the right people to win the Super Bowl, but you don't really have a relationship. Think that through real quick. Most of us as fans, what do we want? We want the best player in the trade. But most time we're not thinking about relationship. So the church ain't much different. If you're not thinking about relationship, you just like, oh, that boy good. Let's get him. Then you get him, then you can't afford him no more. Or you're making excuses and stuff. It's all messing up relationship. And the first thing is our relationship with God. Right? Because if you have a heart for the people and integrity in the word, then you actually don't bite off more than you can chew. And then you're realistic and you're in fellowship with one another to say, hey, Darian, Decibel Group, I know we need sound. But here's our budget. What can we do with that budget?
Right.
But you said that based off of you not trying to drive your Bentley or whatever. And then you like, oh, this is how much is left over. So the church can only afford this because the pastor need that. That's you. But again, or, oh, they handling the finances. Like, they ain't doing no finance work, but you paying them an accounting fee. I get it, but you gotta map it out. And in mapping it out, you also have to remember relationship. So that's a big word. You did say it was going to take us. That's a big thing, relationship.
Jay, I'm coming your way. Let's take a sidestep real quick. And let's talk about relationship as it pertains to someone serving in a musical leadership capacity. And then those that, serve with them, for example, one of the things in my position that I try and make sure I do is never turn either a deaf or a tone deaf ear. Never turn a deaf ear or a tone deaf ear. Now, with that said, the thing about leadership is you got some people that they just want to complain. So some people that it just satisfies them to complain. Then you got individuals that, and I love this one. You got individuals that they don't want to do something, but they don't want somebody else to do it.
But they complain.
So they'll complain about who's doing it. They don't want to do
Let me see which screen the sound went on.
it. They don't want to do it. So, but I still don't turn a deaf ear or a tone deaf ear.
Yeah.
I still make sure the concern and the perspective is heard.
Yeah.
I still make space for perspectives to be given.
Yeah.
Let's take it to the rhythm section, right? Although I might be the one that's responsible for the rhythmic arrangement, right? That doesn't mean it's, I do it, nobody input.
Right.
Not necessarily. Obviously, there's a framework to it. But I'm also looking, okay, anybody got ideas we can add to this arrangement, particularly in situations where we're doing musical reruns. Doing musical reruns, like, okay, doing this again for whatever reason, let's add something to it. So here's where I want to come your way. Anything else for you come to mind when I guess you look back at your time when you served in capacity over musicians, where you used different avenues to develop relationship, and it wasn't just I need you here on time, I need you to know the music, things of that nature?
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna come back to that just in a minute. So, Nick Hill said something about talking about a dynamic in the churches where the pastor makes a call, but the deacons vote behind him and change the decision. Now, here's the thing.
I was trying to stay out of trouble, but go ahead.
Because I seen it too.
You got to walk in the lion's mouth. So here's the thing about that, man. To be honest with you, in most ministries today, as I said earlier, you don't find grassroots pastors like that often. They are some, but most of the time, if you find a grassroots pastor, most of the time they do not have the ability and financial wherewithal to compensate. Usually.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all of them though. You might find some that do. I haven't ran across very many.
Yeah.
They don't really exist anymore.
I was going to say they don't really exist.
Yeah.
So if you do find one, however, here's the deal. With most of the pastors that can compensate you, the pastor is not the boss. They are hired workers just like you. So they have a say. So do you, though. However, most of the time when it comes to the finance, they are looked at no different than you coming in. They can still be fired and they can still, get in trouble like anybody else. So understand, when you go to these ministries and you try to have a relationship, sometimes that gets a little tough when you realize where you fall on the totem pole. Because the people that you want to have a relationship with and the people that can really enhance your life, I'll put it like that, enhance your life financially, they don't desire to know you. That's not where they are. They are your employers. All they want you to do is do your job. They don't want to get to know who you are. They don't desire to pray for you. Let the pastor do that. All they want to know is if it don't make dollars, don't make sense.
Yeah.
Jay, you know what we're missing? Here's one other thing that we're missing too. When you look at it like that, you have to look at ROI, return on investment. Right? So it's like if the pastor or the person that's the visionary says, "Yo, we need a good band in here, and we're going to need $1,500 just for a starter kit." Right?
Yeah.
You're going to just open me up with at least 2 G's for just the music and somebody to sing. I'm a fish and get a package deal, but then that person in charge has to sell on you. I got relational. Here we go. Relational equity.
Relational equity.
Through relational equity, I also got to promise folk, we do this right, it's going to grow.
Yeah.
And then you need people around you that's going to understand that it's good when the stars line up, but if they not lining up, we got to wait till the orbit comes around for the lineup.
Yeah.
And do we have that kind of relationship where we are so in the spirit and I'm doing this for the love of Christ, where it's like, I get it. The economy is messed up. The election didn't go the way we wanted to. Stuff is tight or bills are high or this, that, and the third. That's why. So you can explain a cut on that. Right? But then we should all be on the same mindset of growth. And because we are companyized right now, more than Christianized, we start to have to look at this like, what's the forecast here?
Yeah.
What is the intended? And y'all know the default, John. Oh, to save souls be won for the Lord. Well, if we only agree to the process, right, of Sunday worship service and, oh, God been good, lift your hands and bless him. You need to have some good chords with lift your hands and bless him. You can't just be in a naked room and just be like, oh, lift your hands and bless him. Everybody ain't like that. We need a trigger. No more than have your birthday party without a DJ and think everybody's supposed to just snap their fingers and clap and dance and sing it a cappella. Not happening.
Right.
You got to hire the DJ.
Got to.
Right? The mentality of people is, I don't need a photographer because we got phones. Until all the pictures is blurry and you realize you needed a bigger flash than the one that's on your super iPhone or Android. And you figure out the hard way that out of all them phones in the room, you ain't get the good shot.
Yeah.
Now you like, oh, next time I'm going to hire a photographer. Right? You know, all little videos ain't working. Next time I'm going to hire. The little cupcakes from the supermarket ain't working. Now I'm going to get a baker.
Yeah.
Right? The grandma going to bring macaroni and cheese. Cousin going to bring some Ritz crackers. No, next time I'm going to get a caterer. So we are at that point now.
Yeah.
Or the flip side of it is just open the Bible, teach, preach the word of God, pray. But you can't. I'm sorry, y'all. It's good that we have these conversations because if not, then it goes back to the original comment about the lack of relationship because we never take time to establish it.
Yeah.
Right? And the issue is you got the reverend with no vision, but he got the money. And then the person that's hungry for the money gets used and abused because you meet the need of hitting that monthly nut that they need because that's all they knew how to do. So I'm not faulting the musician that ran after the money because I'm like, I don't know what your situation was. And you had to feed your family. So you went and took that. But woe be unto the establishment, the houses, the pastors, the leaders that aren't transparent enough. Don't just fill in the gap because you want to compete with the church around the corner because they got a good musician over there.
There go that word again, transparency.
That's not what you supposed to be doing, bro. Like you don't, oh, they got a good band. Where the guy, you know, how much they paying him? Stop it. Stop it. Don't do that. Don't do that. We messing up, man. I'm sorry, my rant, y'all. I'm just, it's getting tired because I'm sitting back watching this stuff like, and then in the meantime, we watching all these different churches across America, and it's like, yo, you ain't stacked like that, Reverend. You not. You not. The musician they got over there, he eat, breathe, and sleep that joint, and he's in the studio doing stuff all week.
Yeah.
Right? That's the pastor's son doing that. He don't even need money from them. That's why they got him. So you trying to compete with that, and you got to pay $1,000 a week to get that, and then you gonna rob Peter to pay Paul. No. Or then you gonna tell the minister of music why we need a guitar player. Cause that's how the sound come through.
Yeah.
We doing too much.
Well, you know, real quick, did you mean answer your question that you were saying? So how would I build relationship with my music team.
Yeah.
You know, first, as you say, man, transparency. You can't go wrong with it.
Can't go wrong.
You know, at the end of the day, people want to know, are you willing to give? And the first thing you got to give is of yourself. And if people don't know that, you know, don't feel that you know how they feel.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in the same financial situation, we all working for the same person, and we all are vulnerable at any given time.
Yeah.
If the church burned down the day of tomorrow, we got to start looking.
Yeah.
Because at the end, it is what it is.
Wow.
So
That's big.
it kind of puts us all in the same box.
Absolutely.
So the transparency of that is, hey man, listen, you know, this is what we need to do. Listen, let's go out to eat or something like that. You know, a lot of times food is like the great equalizer, man.
Yeah.
You know, because we all have to eat.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, during that though, it gives you time and the opportunity to kind of read each other.
Yeah.
Yo, I think what we haven't done is we haven't brought the music ministry to the table. Right.
You're right about
Here's the
that,
thing.
man.
I think that one thing that's missing, maybe some people are doing it, you have to bring the team to the table.
Have to.
Everything, when you look at some of these services, like some of these services I watch, or if I visited churches, you look at the whole setup of a Sunday. I'm not talking about what you do during the week, the community set, but I'm talking about your Sunday service if you're going to have it.
Yeah.
The potential people to join that fellowship, they're rating the joining off of the Sunday fellowship 90% of the time. Because the community stuff that you're doing, they've already been a part of it. The unsaved people are a part of it.
Yeah.
But that worship experience and their time when they are really tapped into God in the house of other believers, right? They are rating that, and they're looking at the value in that. If you're relying on, think about this, in the average service, even if the pastor starts out, introduces themselves, they turn it over to the worship team, right? If that worship team is not at the table, you don't have the table and then say, here, this is what I need from y'all. No, you bring them to the table, right? Because everything that they lack, let's stop talking down about musician and worship leaders and choir members and stuff. It's like this. You bring the trustee to the table, you need to bring them to the table so that make the trustee look them in the face and say, hey, we cutting your check because Reverend need new suits every month. Like, be more transparent. Like, just say don't have them guessing. And then leave them with animosity. Say exactly what it is. Reverend need the new 2025 whip. And so there's no bonuses, but we want you to play a week revival and give you $100. No. Put them at the table. Put them at the table. Because if you really ride with them, you bring them to the table so that we on the same team. You got to bring the camera crew to the table. For me, I'm pastoring again. I'm like this. Look, the way we got to reach people, this is how I flow with the camera. And then I'm open for how do we make that happen? Right? What do we need to do? If you can't do X, Y, and Z, I know how to edit. I'll edit my own little clips and stuff.
Yeah.
Nah, Reverend, I got you because I'm doing this and my team can do that. Cool. We can't pay you for that right now, but we got trustee, make a marker of that. Now we can come readdress that. Are we doing better? Transparency is, hey, the plate offering ain't going up. So now I'm going to show it to you.
Yeah.
Transparency. So now you're not looking like, but you got a new job because my wife worked this job.
Yeah.
Because, my son sent me some money. It wasn't because the plate went up and we shunning you. You got to be transparent.
Yeah.
But I agree. People don't want everybody at the table if we don't know that you're in. Right? Because we got to protect the business. Our business. We got to protect the house, right? So from the one side, the creative side, you have to show yourself trustworthy to be at the table.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, and when I say that, bring your value to the table. Let me prophetically throw something out there to all of our creatives, the music people, the singers and all of that. That musical department, you have to stand in what you know that God called you to do, the value of your giftedness.
Yeah.
It almost seems borderline, I think I'm all of that, but also know that you are who God called you to be.
Yeah.
Be that confident that if it ain't for you, walk away. Just walk away and trust God. Don't lessen yourself or beg so that you're in the right place. And then also stand on your value. Right? If they're not recognizing your value, yo, no harm in it. This is not for me. Y'all good. I might be able to recommend somebody, but this is pulling me down from where God placed me, and God called me in here to be a visionary. I'm not trying to be the pastor, but I want you to feel like you can trust me that if I say I need a tuba player, I got a vision on that. Because if either you gonna say that's not the vision God gave me, cool. But if you like, oh, I don't do music, well then you gotta trust my vision.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. And then when you bring those people to the table, you can say, hey, well, what God has placed in you and your ideal goal is to have a 5-piece band. We only got enough for a 3-piece band. Are you willing to work with us?
Yeah.
To get it to that point that we can do that. This is going to take 6 months to a year
Yeah.
just to see and trust God. We're clear. To be clear is to be kind, and to be kind is to be clear.
Yes, sir.
But without the clarity, we're just like bad sports teams, and we 2-12.
Let me shout out some watchers.
Yeah, man.
Then I have a sub question to ask. All right. Eulalia Darius, Vicky Caldwell Fordham, Nick Hill, Patrice DeLisser, Cheryl Spinner Vaughn, Pastor Mike Robinson,
Mike.
Dave Bell, Derek Green, Vicky Lynn Colbreth, Pam Shipman,
Pam.
Lenora Brown, DSTP, Kev Hammond, Ronald Glover, Yolanda Butler, Rashard Cotman, Ola McCrae, Courtney Gray, Maria Bracey, as we said earlier, Robert Pinkney, Dimitri Crafton, Steve Wilson, Marquis Shaw Cotman. Thank you all for tuning in. Here's my sub question. Taking right from where Pels left off.
Yeah.
Why is it that those who have displayed being invested are still kept from the table? Why are those who have displayed that they're invested in the church ministry still kept from the table? Here's my short answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
My short answer is it's because we generally don't invite the person who mows our lawn to the table for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do I mean by that? Let me repeat that.
Yeah.
We generally don't invite the landscaper
Yeah. No, just
to
exactly
the Thanksgiving table.
Exactly.
So what do I mean? What I mean is that we are seen as expendable.
Yeah.
Y'all going Larry Krasner?
We are seen as a dime a dozen.
Yep.
And if we are seen as expendable and a dime a dozen, notice I didn't say, I'm not suggesting that we are irreplaceable. But the problem with being seen as expendable is that screams to us we have no value. You can't tell us we have value and also tell us we're expendable.
Right.
You can't do that out the same mouth.
Right.
Well, Darren, it goes to what I was saying, right? We are at the point where we do have to recognize that this run. So you can have a captain of a ship, but if ain't nobody down there handling the rudder, that ship ain't gonna do nothing. Right? You can be driving the ship, but if ain't nobody out there to throw the anchor down or to rope the boat to the shore, you're done.
Yeah.
Right? If ain't nobody checking on the engine, you can sit as high as you want, but somebody need to be checking the engine, and what they tell you matters on where you steer the ship.
Yeah.
Right? So taking that analogy, you hit it on the money. When you devalue people, especially now, it's that thing. Unplug the mics and watch how the congregation is.
Yeah.
Get rid of the musician and see how the congregation is.
Wait a minute, pals. Unplug those floor monitors by the podium.
Just,
That.
bruh, listen, I'm just keeping it 100%. I'll be telling pastors now, like, listen, you got to work with that music, and it's bigger now, not just because we're not going to dump all this on the attitudes of musicians and singers. They don't want the word. This, that. You can rant all you want on that. But at the end of the day, check your pews real quick. They don't say it, but at the end, matter of fact, you almost need to bring them to the table too. Right? Because it's like, you know what? The praise team needs more money. And you can say that they ain't of God because they want money. Cool. Well, they about to walk out the door. What y'all going to do? And you know what people gonna do? Well, we can sing. You know, they gonna say that, right?
Oh, yes.
Then when Sunday come and you go, okay, they like,
You up?
and then what's gonna happen is the pews start to get empty until y'all figure it out. And if you never figure it out, you know where they're gonna be? Where that praise team went. Oh Lord, I just said something. You know where they gonna be? Where that praise team went. Because I'm gonna give y'all another one here. This is sad to say, but it's enough good preaching on the internet that people will locally go where they feel good and they will get the sermon with their cup of coffee.
Yep.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
So reverends, beware that I don't care how well you know is your Bible, right? Folk is gonna go where they feel good at, and we can argue if the feeling is faulty or if the feeling is just faithful. I'm not judging it one way or the other, but I'm just keeping it 100% and saying what most people don't want to hear that everybody's scared to say. This is why folk is sitting around talking about certain people's preaching, and I don't know why they there, because they getting a good experience. And every good experience is not demonic. It's not leading to hell. They just ain't break down the scripture like you would, but they didn't butcher the text.
Yeah.
But if I feel like, yo, I'm not getting pimped out of my money, I'm at a posture that I can worship God in spirit and in truth amongst other believers. I don't care that you got a PhD and that person only got a college degree. We not judging that because they still gave me the word. I got a message, and the people there are kind. Right? So
Yeah.
Guys got to be more careful.
Jay, forgive me, but I want to divulge a nugget that came out of a private conversation that you and I had some time ago.
Yeah.
And I want to open this cupboard, and I need you to really, explain this.
Yeah, sure.
But you gave me this nugget in a private conversation. You said to me that there is a difference between when someone appreciates you versus when they value you.
That's right. Exactly. You know, all of us in this studio right now, we're guys, right? Musicians are like a good barber.
Come on, Reverend.
You know,
That's good.
it's something when, you have a really, because, a lot of people can cut your head. Don't get it wrong. They got clippers and everything.
Oh, yeah.
They only charge you $15, if that. State-of-the-art clippers. They got the good stuff. However, when they cut your head and you walk out of there with a part right here that ain't supposed to be there, or your hairline keep going back every time you go and you don't realize it until it's too late, but you was paying $15. You was getting cut now.
Yeah. Or it's just one step better than what you could have did to your own head.
Exactly. So here's the thing. When you find a really good barber, you're going to do whatever you need to do to keep that barber. That's one of the hardest things to lose, because now you got to take chances.
Oh, yes, sir.
And we don't like to take chances on our head, boy.
No.
We don't. No, those of us
you.
that's growing beards, and those of us that got lines in our hair. I don't got no hair on my head, but those of us that do,
Yeah.
we don't want to take chances on our hairline. So we'll take a drive and pay $50 because we want it right. What are you saying, Jay? There are certain musicians that are called simply because they know what to do. So if you're looking for a cheaper way, you're going to get that. Because there's a lot of cats out here that can play. They just don't play well. They don't play to what your standard is. So you need to understand, like, you'll get something. Like my man said, look, dime a dozen.
Yeah.
We're treated like a dime a dozen. Oh, I can get another musician. You sure can. You can get another musician. And now you're wondering, well, I don't know why he sound like that over there. Is he sound like that because you wanted to pay $45 for your service? And he was available.
Oh, yeah.
He was available. So when you look at it like that, you know, it kind of makes puts it in a little bit, especially for men. I'll say even for the ladies. Most ladies, especially my wife, she don't like to get her nails and feet done just by anybody.
Yeah.
She has a place that she go.
Hey, look. So I want to help y'all with this too. So y'all can answer this, and either one of y'all take it. So me being in a pastor seat for a second, let's now think musician. If you had a room full of musicians and you said, hey, we got funding.
Yeah.
Everybody in this room, you write down on paper and be honest with yourself what you want to receive every Sunday realistically, and what you believe you're worth, right? Something to that nature. So let's just say that number goes around to what I'm willing to give, the time that I have. You know, maybe you have a business, right? So you like Darian, you got Decibel Group.
Yeah.
And you like, but I still want to play on Sundays, but I really want to grow my business.
Yeah.
So I'm good to teach a choir one night a week and to play in between 9 and 12.
Yeah.
So if that's 2 services, whatever. So around 8 to 12, I'm going to work 4 hours on a Sunday morning, rehearsal with everything. So as a part-time joint, let's just round that off to 8 hours a week. Give me $100 an hour. So that's 800. All right, you can say whatever. I'm just throwing a number out there. So let's just say, and then I'm going to say, you know what? We got good funding. Let's just round it up to 1,000. So everybody here, you kind of the same skill set as Darian, Jay, whatever. You're not walking out here with less than $1,000. What church would you go to and be the musician? Money guaranteed. Money guaranteed. Don't answer it, but what church, based off of your experience, their reputation, the relationship with the people, the preaching of the pastor, X, Y, and Z, what church would you go to and play where money was not an issue and nobody's talking about you're greedy or nothing like that? We got the funding. Where do you go? I would ask the same thing to the praise team. Where do you see your gift is that valuable that under that leadership, I have something to offer and I'm going to build, what's the word I'm looking for? Y'all can take it from me real quick. I'm going to add value.
Absolutely.
Right to that place. The value that God has already gifted me to add. Where do I want to add that? Because me preaching in my head, I'm just waiting on the Holy Spirit. If God puts me back in the pulpit, I've already, like in my head, in my spirit, looked at where I would go and where I wouldn't go because of who I am. I would not be able to add value there because they won't receive it. But I can add value there.
That's the key word. So I'm going to respond to that the key word is where it's received, where your values received. Because I'll just speak for me. Let me not speak for.
And you don't have to name
musician.
a place, but
no, I'm not
if
gonna
you
name
have
a place.
something in mind,
Yeah, but
Yep.
that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for where my values receive, because where my values receive, it makes me look at the conversation totally different.
Got you.
It makes me look at the conversation totally different
Got you.
Right.
when the value is received, when my voice carries weight.
Let me see.
Because
Go ahead.
last thing,
Go ahead. Take it.
because what many of our church leaders will find out through relationships is that the people that do music, they do more than just music.
Yes.
Right.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's where I was going.
They have more to offer you than just music.
Right.
But you won't find it out without relationship.
Right.
So,
Pels, go ahead.
Darren, I'm gonna pass it right. Jay, you got something for this?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna throw it right to you.
Yeah.
Darren, you hit it on the money because I'm gonna use you as an example. If someone came to me like they came to a brother of mine in the city and was like, look, we want you to be the pastor and we're going to take care of all the hard work. We're going to get the logistics and stuff together. We need you to be the visionary, right? If I was given that proposition, I'm thinking of certain people. And if I came at you, the reason why I would come at you would be like this. Because I know you know sound. So we would be clear on the game plan. Yo, I need you to start off on the Hammond, but I need you to come to the other table because I need to get this stuff right. And because of the way you set the ECAM up at the church, I was in that balcony. Great job. I'm going to tell you that, brother. I was up there with mom. Like, she's like, yeah, my son said, I was like, damn, Darren killed this joint. I'm like, yeah, I need that kind of stuff. And then if I'm thinking culinary and extra stuff, I'm going to look at Angel and Jay because I'm like, that's more double in the music department. And we got culinary, we got this, that, and the third. We got finances. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm going with
Absolutely.
You have to bring the people to the table.
You got to bring people
Why
to the
are
table.
we not bringing people to the table? Jay, go ahead.
Well, and I'm gonna put it a little bit more.
Go
a
for
little
it.
bit. I'm gonna try to put it a little bit more simpler for those that want to know the value versus appreciation. I appreciate my wife's presence, but I value her life.
Yes,
That's
sir.
good.
Yes, sir.
Jay, you know you're a bishop, real good, for the most part.
Yes, sir.
You talk like one already.
I appreciate her presence,
When you say
but I value her life.
Absolutely.
come on, bro.
So it's a difference when a pastor or a church value your life. The compensation is a part of a bigger picture.
There you go. There you go.
Is anybody see? Listen, y'all pass this word on for everybody that puts the bad word out there that musicians are just hungry for money. You heard it from two well-known, wonderful musicians that, and they went on edge to say this. They ain't say they don't want the good check, but what they basically said was, based on the relationship, you don't have to look at me concerned about the bag, right? Because like, that's what I was saying to y'all too. Music ministry people, step it up. Know your value and know your worth.
Yes,
and don't
sir.
be afraid now. Do not underestimate yourself or do not feel like you have to, lower yourself in an unpositive way or over humble yourself. Humble is humble.
Yeah.
There's not an over humble. Just be humble. And humble is going to lift you.
Yes, sir.
Like Philippians chapter 2, I believe, there's a lifting in your humbleness, right? Lower than the angels, right? The serving mentality. But in that serve, it's knowing who you are called to be, so that when you step in, you're not looking at it like, I can't walk away from this table without nothing. Yes, you can, because they didn't understand that wasn't the table, right? Or don't shortchange yourself at the table, and then be honest. This is where I believe we can go.
Yeah.
And spirit going to recognize spirit. And if everybody's not right all the time, because you can see something that the church ain't telling you, but then if they're honest too, they're going to say, I'm sorry if it looks like, but we got other issues.
Yeah.
And at least we're honest, so you can say, okay, that's not a deal breaker. Let's go forth with that. But here's how we're going to address that.
Yeah.
Like, let me know You want me in here? I'll rock with a bass player and a guitar player and a drummer.
Yeah.
So, hey, we can't afford a guitar player. Okay, cool. Are you opposed to one? No. Okay, let's see what we can do to get it there. Maybe in 6 months or something, because if I tell my guitar player that, they may say, or I can talk to my team and say, listen, I was looking for this number.
Yeah.
Jay was looking for that number, but because of our relationship, we all going to take $50 off ours to get this, because we believe that our relationship outside of here, people that's looking for a church is all going to follow us in here.
Yeah.
Ain't that crazy? It was sad I had to tell the pastor this, like, look, if you getting that person as a worship leader, you're actually bringing in people that follow that person. So you got to look at, how do you transfer? Because the people that are there because of that worship leader, they're going to see how you treat the worship leader.
Yes, sir.
And if they don't like it, they just going to wait until their time is up. And you're going to have the illusion that you got more people, but they're going to roll out when they roll out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they was never in relationship with you. They was only there for your worship leader. Got to bring them to the table.
Got to bring them to the table.
Gotta bring
And
'em to the table.
when you first went down this path, Pels, you talked about the musical person also, presenting and displaying themselves, not only valuable but trustworthy to be at the table, which I totally agree with. I think the problem is many of our churches and our church leadership has already decided who can come to the table. And many of them decided, we don't need nobody musical at the table.
Wow.
They've already decided that.
Yeah.
Big mistake.
That we don't need nobody musical at the table.
Yeah.
So my big conclusion here is, if I'm not allowed to be at the table, well, that tells me that there's no desire to have a relationship. There's no desire to have a relationship with me.
That's so true.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. That's just cutting bone dry as it gets. If your structure and your methodology is set up in a way where you feel no one musical needs to be at the table, then I'm sorry, you are simultaneously screaming that you don't desire a relationship with the musical people.
Right.
You look, your praise team is like your offensive line, right? It's like having a huddle with the running back, the wide receivers, but not the
not the offensive line.
Not offensive line. Like,
wow.
you can't have a huddle and not have a whole team. If everybody's on the field, you got to bring them to the table.
Wow.
Right. Everybody can be in the same arena, and the whole arena doesn't come into the huddle. But at least the active people on the field that everybody's looking at, they need to be in a huddle together. Because if they're not in a huddle together, then the play, the move is not. We're not running it right. So you can't pee on me as the wide receiver, and you got to throw the ball to me.
Yeah.
Watch the analogy right here. You have to throw the ball, right? I don't care if you start off be like, welcome to such and such a church, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Let's put our hands together and we're going to bring the praise team up. Well, you passing the ball, right? Well, now you throwing it to me, but we ain't have a huddle. Right? And then you can't have one huddle for the whole month. You got to have a huddle every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Right?
Every
Because
play.
things change.
Yep.
Yeah.
You gotta have a huddle. Something else happens, you gotta have a huddle. Then you have a debriefing. So I think the word on the night that's great is like, I think we're pushing forward. There's two things to be mindful of. We're praying that leadership invites and brings the team to the table, and then the team know your worth and step up to the table. Yeah. So if anything happens, I got rejected from the table that I tried to step to, or I brought them to the table and realized they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the other problem with not bringing people to the table. You're assuming that they know or don't know.
Yes, sir.
And you won't know until you bring them to the table and give them their turn to talk.
Yeah.
And you can find out, okay, you're not a visionary.
Yeah.
Why do we need a new organ? Oh, cause why do we need a keyboard? Oh, cause they transpose.
Yeah.
Right? But you won't know that until you bring them to the table.
Uh-oh.
Right? Why do we need a new soprano singer? Cause she got a beef with her baby daddy and so and so. Now you know, cause you gotta have a conversation, right?
Yes, sir.
You understand what I'm saying? You
Yes,
gotta have
sir.
a conversation.
Yes,
and if
sir.
you don't bring them to the table, then you won't know. So this table thing is it.
I'm gonna shout out some watchers. I'm gonna say one thing. Jay, you got the last word for the night. All right. Valrita Davis, Tony Westbrook, Jake Warren, Arnett Danielle, Alfonso. I believe that's Dashiel Sr. I apologize if I messed up your last name. Kay Anderson. Thank you all for tuning in. The statement that many musicians have heard infamously.
I know what you about.
If you'll just work with us.
Yep.
As the church grows,
Yep.
obviously we'll make sure you grow. I don't take issue with the intent,
Right.
but I do have to say this. That is not a statement you can make to someone that you don't have a relationship with. Jay, you got final words.
So let me say, man, relationship is important just as motive.
Yes, sir.
Motive is the start of everything. It's the start of what happens when you decide to do something, and when you decide to play for someone, or when you decide to bring someone in your church as a pastor. What is your motive? That will determine how the relationship will go. And I must say this: if you're the pastor and your motive is not to have a relationship, don't bring somebody in that desires one, because you're just going to you're going to torment them. It's going to be a torment to them.
Yes, sir.
That because they're going to desire a piece of the investment of you.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to give it, don't do that. Just, hire someone else that's able to take what you're ready to dish out at the end of the day, man. There's a lot of musicians, there's plenty of churches out there. It's hard to find something that you can really, most of the time there's some adjustments.
Yeah.
It's hard to find something that you can really latch on to. Most of us have to adjust to what's already established.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. But, keep encouraged, and good show tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Renee Bundy, thank you for tuning in with us. So listen, we're going to be going for a few weeks. Obviously, next week is Thanksgiving. Happy holidays
Happy
to
holidays,
everybody.
Happy holidays.
Rob Speaks, thanks for popping in.
Yeah.
So we will see you guys on the other side of Thanksgiving, which will be December 5th.
Yep.
Same place, same time, 10 p.m. I am D. Brister.
Jay Morris.
All
Pels, take us away.
All right, people. Good night, everybody. And make sure that you continue to keep your joy.
Yeah.